Okay, shining the light. So I was hoping to do this video when I was done with my articles, but right now I'm in SAICA limbo. I'll get into that in a bit or at the end, actually, why I'm in SAICA limbo. But I wanted to just give a deep dive into how my articles has been thus far and, what I experienced and, yeah, just what the climate is like for people that are going into articles and just, I guess just have a conversation about how my journey has been. So I started my articles in 2017. I had just come from having my own business, and at the time I was still doing my degree. And then I had a truck because my uncles are in logistics. So at the time, there was too much risks that I was facing being in logistics, and my dad had a spares business. So I took the money from my truck, and I invested into the spares business. And yeah, at the time, the spares business wasn't that busy. I think we're doing like 20 transactions a day, and that led me to, thinking that I could do my articles while I was still studying. So at the time, it's 2017. I go study. I'm in work at Popolski Hurwitz, and yeah, as a first year, I was a junior there, and so what is the experience like as a junior at Popolski? So as a first year, you'll be exposed to income statement, or this was the setup at Popolski. I'm not saying that it's like this for all firms, but at Popolski and in first year, because it's the least, I guess, the least risky sections, and you're still a junior, you're still learning the ropes in audit, you'll just do the ticking and bashing of income statement, which is sales, income statement items, so sales, expenses, other income, what else is there in cost of sales? So those are first year sections, right? And second year sections would be the balance sheet, and third year sections would be tax, planning, and inventory. Tax and planning because it involves all elements of the audit, so it's suited for the third years. And inventory, just because of the nature of the complexity of inventory, it's normally delegated to a third year, depending on the complexity of the inventory that you're auditing. So you work firsthand under CAs, and like I said, you'll be exposed to different clients. Like at Popolski, we had small clients all the way to like just before JSC listed clients. I don't think they had just JSC listed clients at the time, but I know there was one client that was just, or they might even have been big enough to be in the JSC. They just were low key like that, right? But all I'm saying is like the extent of clients was from small all the way to large, even non-profits. So what was the salary like? It was, I think we were getting just 10 grand, something like just under 10 grand as a first year. And I think the scales were like second years moved to 12, then third years were 14. But I didn't make it all the way to third year. But I remember like it was just under 10,000 because me and my wife, my now wife, then girlfriend, we were working at the same firm. And it was enough for us to move out on our own, and we were staying in Polsdorf. So the rent wasn't that bad. It was like under 5, it was under 6,000. So we made it work with the 20 grand salary that we were getting at the time. So as a first year, it's not the best amount of money, but it's something to work with, right? So yeah, at Popolski, what happened, like why I left is because I made an error, which turned out to be a material balance where I vouched that I saw a statement for this client. I'll never forget it. Its name was Ruselu or something of the sort, but it was a creditor statement. I'll never forget. And I essentially phantom ticked because I said I saw the statement. When my partner asked to see it, I couldn't find the statement. But for the life of me, I'm not someone who tries to phantom tick, That's just, on my life, I can say that. I'm not and I was just starting with balance sheet sections because I had been doing income statement, and the trajectory is income statement, balance sheet, tax plan, like I'm saying in third year. So I knew like it would have been, I would have been like, I knew the extent of what I was doing, so I wouldn't have just phantom tick that specific thing. If I'm saying, like, not to say I would phantom tick other things, but I wouldn't specifically phantom tick a creditor statement that you just have to vouch. It's not that hard. You open up the file, you vouch it to the statement, check it to the trial balance or the what section it's mapped to. So it's the risk. It wasn't risky for me to check that, or it wasn't complex for me to do that. But anyway, it ended up being a fireable offense, and for some reason my partner was like, he didn't want to work with me anymore, and we just decided to part ways. Instead of him having to dismiss me, I decided that I'll just resign because I don't want to have like a smudge on my record where I know it's just an honest mistake. So at the time, I decided to go into business with my dad, like I was with before I went to articles, and then I stayed there for about 5 years. I'm gonna have another video breaking down like what I learned in business, because that was like after 2019, and I just got my degree after that. So that was 2019. So I go into business, and I'm going to have a deep dive on business. But then along the way, after COVID and whatnot, the business that me and my dad had, it wasn't doing too well, and we had to, not that we had to close. We were breaking even, and my mother was the main investor, wanted to see a return. So what happened is I decide now I'm going to go back into audit, right? Having that as my experience. And also when I tried to find jobs, when I came back as an accountant and stuff, I think it's hard to transition from audit to accounting for some reason, which is what I'm also having a problem with now, which is a story for just now. So, so I go to PKF, right? After that, when I'm done with my dad, I go to PKF in Alberton. It's PKF VGA. It's not Octagon. It's like it's like a member firm of the network, but it's almost independently run. And the setup is a bit different there, in the sense that we worked remotely, and 2 days we go into the office, 3 days we work remotely. And most of my audits were remote audits, right? So the interaction I had, which was different to Propulsi, where the partner would come to the audit and he would review the work we had done. This time it was done remotely, and reviews were done remotely as well. Okay, so you have daily calls every day, and the partner has to check in with you and to check how far the audit is and the budget discrepancies, right? And any problems you're having or findings you're having on the audit. This is all discussed in a daily call at PKF. Whereas at Popolski, we had the partner coming in like maybe once or twice or however many times while you guys are on the audit. Okay? The salary was like 15 starting when I got there as an intermediate, and I don't want to go into depth about what it was after that, because that's like the stage I'm at right now, and that will be like in and out their rates. But let's just say 15 as an intermediate, and as a senior, like the market related increase in that regard. So at PKF, I was exposed to all sides of the financial statement now. So it was the income statement I had been exposed to at Popolski, and then now again at PKF, as well as all the balance sheet line items, and then tax and planning and inventory, which are the third year sections at Popolski. Whereas at PKF, everyone is exposed to everything at the same time. But now I had been exposed to everything, all sides of the income statement, for small firms to like large firms, right? And at the end of my contract, which was now October 2025, I was not up to par with the LOR evidence. So on top of you going to audits and auditing the financial statements, in line with the standards and so forth, SAICA also requires you to do an evidence where you document how you were exposed to the competencies that SAICA needs you to be exposed to. And there's a list of these competencies. I think the number is about 42, if I'm not mistaken. There's like 42 of these competencies, and you have to do that over the course of your contract. You have to achieve those 42 competencies through the audit environments that you go to for your job now. So at the end of my contract, my evidence was not at a stage where my training officer was happy enough with my documentation. Not that I haven't been exposed to it. I had been exposed to every single section. It's just the way my documentation was, it was not at a satisfactory level that she was happy to sign me off. So that would put me in the position of them asking me to do a 6-month extension, which I wasn't against. Just at the time, like, I was going through a lot. I also had a bit of personal problems with my wife, and we were almost like going to split up and stuff. But I was also just burnt out from articles, because articles is very demanding. And